Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Lessons in the Lounge. My name is Vince. If you're thinking of selling your business to a family member, congratulations. Passing down your business can be a terrific way to ensure a legacy for future generations. Many clients appreciate this type of succession and enjoy dealing with a family run business, especially if the family member has worked within the company in the past. For every seller, this can be an extremely rewarding experience when a family member joins the business. However, if it's not done right, it can be a frustrating experience at the same time. In this episode, I'm going to talk about some of the challenges, advantages, and disadvantages when selling your business to a family member, how to structure a smooth transition to the family member, how to compensate them during the transition, and finally, talking about a couple of unique ways your family member can finance the purchase of your business. So let's get into it. First of all, it's a great message to your clients that the good traditions of the company will carry on with the next generation. From the seller's perspective, you can trust a relative, and this helps to ensure that services will continue. However, regardless of any positives and the possible eagerness of your family member to purchase your business, keep in mind that every business must be viewed through the seller's eyes as a business. If you're not confident the family member can consistently provide great service or be able to run his or her own business in an organized and efficient manner, you should reconsider this strategy and sell to someone else. Let's talk about finding the right fit. Before you bring any family member into your practice, it's important to look at this person objectively. Are they a good fit, or are you just bringing them into your practice simply because they are family and you want them to succeed in life? If you are fortunate enough to have a hardworking and intelligent relative, a person who shows a keen interest in your business, and they're willing to take courses to improve their knowledge, they should be considered. Other important considerations are willingness to work long hours and nights, good communication skills, professionalism, passionate, outgoing, personality, responsible and goal-oriented, and educated on the business. These are all attributes that must be considered when choosing a successor. So, what's your relationship currently like? Working with relatives can be very difficult at times. Relatives can take advantage of the family connection and display a sense of entitlement. Some family members may not work as hard as you expect, frequently calling in sick or not following your instructions without starting an argument or debate about just about everything. Don't consider this type of person. Unless you can speak to them openly and they can accept correction without issue, don't consider these people. Relatives may unknowingly introduce problems into the workplace among other staff. If the relative does not work as hard as they should, the other staff and members of your team will grow resentful and perhaps start to slack off themselves. In my opinion, I believe family members should be the hardest working members of your staff, and they should make a favorable impression on everyone else. I've personally witnessed a business transition where mother and daughter fought constantly about everything, to the point where clients began to notice, staff began to notice, and finally, the daughter left the business, which caused even a bigger problem within the family. However, on the good news side, I've seen and witnessed more successful family owner transitions as compared to the failures. Let's talk about succession plan. You should be prepared for a longer succession plan. If you plan on selling to a family member and would like to prepare your business and staff for this type of transaction, you will likely need to give your succession plan more time than you normally would if you were selling to an outside third party. Let's talk about training and education for a moment. It's very important to invest in the development and training of the new buyer. Consider having them attend conferences and seminars to achieve an in-depth understanding of the industry. Have them study and apply for any necessary courses and licenses. You should consider paying for their continuing education. Some suppliers will co-opt the cost of continuing education, so be sure to inquire. If the person understands that they're being groomed as your future successor, your investment in their development will yield you and your business incredible results. Loyalty, hard work, and a positive attitude are the attributes that will spill over into your client service relationships and, generally speaking, throughout your whole business. Your clients will appreciate knowing that you're acting as a responsible business owner, planning your succession, and strengthening your team for the long term. Consider communicating all of your business successes with your clients, such as when a family member successfully completes a course or anytime they have obtained a designation or a special recognition. Now let's talk about assigning responsibilities. Careful consideration will have to be given to how you structure the training, time, and their duties. And this will be over the short, medium, and long term. So you may consider having them job shadow you or other staff members for several weeks. Teach them the industry jargon, the acronyms, the compliance policies, the form completion, and along with other proprietary requirements, share your lunches and breaks whenever possible in order to keep them abreast of their progress and development. You'll eventually want them to sit in on client meetings, attend industry seminars, and other similar functions. They should take notes during these meetings and keep quiet other than the initial greetings and pleasantries, and then ask them questions afterwards. Take the initiative to do a post-mortem after each client meeting to review the client's circumstances and explain the reasons behind the advice or recommendations that you've made. After a few months, they should have a greater understanding of the business, and you may consider assigning a group of clients to them. Do not pass along any of your A-list clients at this time. Choose the easygoing clients with relatively simple accounts to look after. I encourage you to sit in on the first meeting or two with all clients that you'll be passing along to explain the coming changes and assure them that you are still there and still reviewing their accounts. The family member should be coached to only answer questions that they're comfortable with and to seek your guidance if they're not sure of something. This is an ideal time to begin segregating your client list by grouping your A's, B's, C, and D and unwanted clients. First thing, get rid of the unwanted clients. They're most likely dragging you and your staff down, and they'll demoralize your family member. Consider giving all of your C and D clients to your successor to manage going forward. This will allow you to begin freeing up some of your own time, and you can be able to deal more closely with your own A and B clients. And hopefully enjoy some downtime, play some golf, travel, etc. Typically, the C and D clients are the clients that will have smaller account sizes, may not be getting a lot of attention from you, and may be ripe for some new blood to service their accounts. Don't be surprised that some of these accounts will have hidden opportunities that you may not have recognized. Depending on your business model, you may encourage your successor to develop and grow their own client base within your company. This should provide valuable new experiences, along with helping them to develop a thicker skin, which, as you know, every business owner needs. After about a year has passed, your successor should be fully trained and have confidence handling most clients, perhaps with the exception of the very complex or demanding accounts. By now, they should have an understanding of all the day-to-day business operations. Let's talk about how to compensate your family member. During the short to medium term phase, the family member will require a fixed salary. This is to be expected as they are likely helping with various client, business, and administrative matters. When things move to the long-term phase, and once you've delegated your C and D clients to them, you can either continue with payment of salary or pay them perhaps a salary, maybe a lower salary, and add a variable compensation. Since your overall objective is to ultimately sell all of your business, you now have to ask yourself a couple of questions. Do you want the buyer, the family member, to service the business, or do you want them to grow the business, or both? This is a very important question, as you must ensure that you structure the compensation model to drive the specific results that you expect. In other words, if you want them to focus on servicing existing clients, don't offer a variable compensation based on increasing new sales. Let's look at a couple of examples. For servicing existing client needs, pay a fixed salary and include a small variable income based on recurring revenue and fees. If you want them to prospect and encourage new sales, consider adding a variable compensation based on new sales. Now, if you want them to service existing clients and prospect for new business, arrange a variable compensation based on recurring revenue and new sales, but ensure that the anticipated income levels from both activities generate are roughly equal. As an example, if you assign 10% commissions to both new sales and recurring revenues, and the new sales component brings in substantially more income, don't be surprised if you notice that they've placed more emphasis on sales and less on service. Let's talk about structuring the deal and some creative financing ideas. Regardless of the type of financial transaction you choose, you'll have to decide how long you will stay in the business to transition the clients. As well, all agreements should be structured to include all necessary and respective safety clauses such as non-solicits, in the favor of the buyer and limited liabilities to the seller. Let's talk about traditional financing or financing. It's likely that your successor will not have the financial resources required to provide you with a substantial down payment. If you are expecting a down payment, how will your successor get this money? If they own a house, perhaps a line of credit or second mortgage is one of the most cost-effective ways to obtain financing, especially if they can secure and obtain a home secured line of credit. Keep in mind that banks will typically not lend money unless they have tangible collateral to back up the loan. Some banks may consider providing a loan, but they may consider it to be high risk and demand a higher interest rate, along with a personal guarantee. Now, that may not be entirely bad, and a personal guarantee will mean that if the buyer cannot pay the monthly loan payments, the lender will demand the payments from their personal assets. Personal guarantees are not all bad and should be considered carefully, obviously. Many business owners, including myself, have had to agree to personal guarantees to secure financing. Unfortunately, sometimes it's just the nature of the beast. In certain industries, such as financial services, accounting, and others, your head office or main suppliers will have a vested interest in retaining the business when you decide to sell, and they're often eager to assist in transitioning a business to a new owner. These plans differ from company to company and should be considered as a viable option. Many of these suppliers have a variety of payment options, loan options, and terms, which may be favorable to the seller and to the buyer. Here's something a little different. Consider the no money down strategy for your family member. Here's a way that you can sell your business, and quite frankly, you can get more than your asking price. It's a bit risky, but the risk is reduced because you're hopefully dealing with a trusted and reliable family member. Let's assume that the business that you're selling generates $200,000 per year in gross revenues, and you're selling for 2 times revenue. So in other words, a $400,000 sales price. Your successor cannot afford to provide a down payment, so you agree to a 70-30 revenue split for the first 8 years. Over the next 8 years, the successor will hopefully earn $140,000, 70% per year, and the seller will earn $60,000, 30% per year, for a total of $480,000 over 8 years. Let's take a step back for a moment. Do you remember my earlier comment from an earlier episode? More terms should mean a higher price. Well, that's exactly what should happen in this situation. The buyer has bought a very good business for 0% down and has paid it off over 8 years. You have agreed to spread your selling income over 8 years, and depending on your national tax system, you may have less income tax to pay as a result of receiving your payments over 8 years rather than as a lump sum. But be sure to check with your accountant on this first. So be creative. There are no hard and fast rules on how to structure the financial deal. Take your time and get creative with payouts and income structures. Seek out advice from others who have sold to family members to get tips on the pros and cons that they've experienced. And of course, finally, consult with your accountant and lawyer to ensure that your strategy will achieve the intended results. That's it for now. I really do hope that you've enjoyed this episode. And if you have, please give me a like. Please subscribe for future episodes. So thanks again, and remember, think long term.